Hello and welcome back. This is going to be a 200 word per minute literary dictation, Gaining a Leash on Life, Part 10, and we will begin. The fact of fallibility. Practice accepting the fact of your fallibility. Perhaps you have made a mistake. Maybe someone noticed that you made an error in the family checkbook, or you made a wrong turn, or perhaps you misunderstood an appointment time. So, accept it. Accept it as a mistake, not as a horrible thing to be denied or defended, but just as evidence of your humanity. Practice saying, "I'm sorry." Say you're sorry for the inconvenience that your decision or your action may have caused another, but not sorry for being a person who made that decision. If knowing what you know now would have altered your decision, then why should you apologize for not previously having had this knowledge? Accepting self and others as fallible. Imagine that your friend approached you very upset about the terrible mistake she had made. As she shares her story, regardless of the details, would you feel that she was a terrible person? Would you believe that she would feel terrible, guilty now, and well into the future for her mistake? Or would you be able to recognize that while the consequence of what she did may be pretty serious, she simply made a mistake? She made a faulty decision, but one that was the best she could have made at that time. Take a moment to review one of your major mistakes. Perhaps it would help to actually write it down. Now, treat yourself as you would treat your friend. Try to step out of the role of mistake maker and simply be the caring, listening friend. Review the elements and conditions that existed at the time of your mistake. Were you tired, upset, under pressure? Was there something happening that was interfering with your clear vision of all available choices and their likely outcomes? Is there any real benefit to feeling guilty or shameful either now or long into the future about this event? And lastly, if there is something that you have been feeling a little guilty about, or maybe even a tad worried that it might be discovered, go now and announce it. Tell someone. Announce it not as a statement of pride, nor as one of shame, and not as a confession or to seek forgiveness. Announce it simply as an event in your life that you may or may not need help rectifying. No shame, just acceptance of a less than perfect me. Dogma 7, the world as is. My dog is usually pleased with what I do because she is not infected with the concept of what I should be doing. Dogs are certainly the most accepting of creatures. They tolerate our mood swings. They are willing to wait as we make last-minute adjustments and corrections to our plans for a walk, and they even humor us as we dress them in booties, sweaters, and an endless variety of bows and ribbons. Dogs are accepting because they appear to take what is as it is rather than demand that it be different. Unlike most humans, dogs simply respond to the what is of the moment and free themselves from the shoulds, musts, and have-tos that typically guide most of our days. This human capacity to turn what may be a good idea or a desirable condition into an absolute should or must can certainly lead to many problems. Imagine that you actually believed that your dog had to wear a sweater, booties, or some other such apparel before leaving the house for his morning constitution. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that placing protective clothing on some dogs is wrong. Some dogs may actually enjoy the added warmth of a doggy sweater. But imagine that you actually took a good idea, like trying to insulate the dog from the cold, and turned it into an absolute must. Dogs must wear sweaters. Just think of it. If you believe this truly was an absolute must, like the 11th commandment, then you would be riddled with guilt and anxiety each time you failed to do this. Further, you would most likely become infuriated, enraged if someone else abused their pooch by ignoring this dictum. While I am sure you agree that such an absolute obligatory approach to dog garments would be extreme, what you may not realize is that you, like me, live in a tapestry of shoulds, musts, and have-tos. The pressures of living such a life of obligation often takes form in our feelings of anxiety, guilt, and anger. You may hold a number of beliefs that started out as simply good and desirable ideas, but which have turned into your own set of absolute laws about the way the world is supposed to be. If this happens, you can expect to find yourself being extremely upset whenever one of these laws is violated. For example, have you ever been rushing to an important meeting only to find yourself stuck in highway traffic? Now it is a good idea, a desirable idea, to get to your meeting on time. Missing the appointment or being late can result in consequences which are not desirable, and it is a good idea to avoid these consequences if possible. But take a look at your reactions. Do they reflect a perspective that the traffic jam is just an inconvenience? Do they reflect a perspective of disappointment? Do they fit the moment? Hopefully so, but for some of us, a situation like a traffic jam elicits rising blood pressure, squirming bodies, and a blaring car horns. Not very productive, not even necessary. Perhaps you have found yourself becoming angry, really angry, at the way another person is acting. You know, the guy in front of you who is not moving even though the light has turned green, or your teenager never takes the garbage out as he is supposed to. Why the reaction? How is it that if good ideas and desirable conditions are not met, the situation somehow is elevated to the point that it starts to feel like a major catastrophe? Okay, that is the end of part 10 of this Gaining a Leash on Life, and I will see you in part 11.